Hello everyone, it's Michelle Patterson here with Angel Souls, and today we're going to be talking about the energies of 2020 to 2024. Now, before we have that discussion, please understand that time is not linear, okay? So when we say 2020 to 2024, let's not get caught up in our ego consciousness and really track those years. We are going to be having kind of a density blast moment, but the reason why I'm saying, remember that time is not linear, you might hear some people say, oh, it's 2020 to 2025. We've had a lot of channelers bringing through some really incredible information. I encourage you to go check those out. You know, of course, listen to your instincts about who to pick up on, okay? Other people have been talking about 2020 to 2034. So let's first talk about what happened in 2012. If you notice for 2020, there hasn't been as much hype. There hasn't been as much magical thinking. It hasn't been so much escapism, because that was definitely something that was going on in 2012, where everyone was just like, oh, I can't wait for the countdown. I can't wait for this to happen. That way I could poof off this earth and be done, right? And then 2020 came, and a lot of us, me included, like some crazy stuff was happening, and I had a major spiritual death. If you want to know about what spiritual death is, and at least my experience with it, let me know down below in the comments, and I can make that video for you as well. So essentially, coming into 2020, this is a time where we are not doing this whole taking messages and processing it through our ego and trying to make it mean something. I remember going back to 2012, that was something I was doing. If I would get a message from Gabriel, I would twist that message around in my ego to have it be a nice, neat little story. We saw a lot of people who were like, oh, I'm going to be going off in 2020. I mean, people really thought that their bodies were going to evaporate and they were going to go off into another dimension. And I had a little hard time with that, because I was like, I don't know that we're exactly there. Right? Doesn't seem like we're exactly there. But I want to make it clear that 2012 was actually an important opening. We all learned something, whether you're aware of it or not. And if you recognize just how far a lot of people have come, I mean, crystals have become very, very mainstream. We have people out there really, trying to spread some information about crystals, more earth awareness, more kindness towards others. We still have people who are trying to be the rebels, but again, I will get into the uprising of the rebellion with this, and that's part of that 2020 energy as well. This time around, hopefully a lot of us are far better prepared for an opening, if that's how you want to think of it. And some people really think that this is going to be a time where we get a lot of downloads. So many things can happen, but I want you all to be prepared in your higher consciousness. Let's be very, very clear about this. If you are somebody who is still trying to manipulate the energies to get what you want, and you're not doing it in the highest good of everyone involved, you better play catch up here. You've got like 3 more months. I'm recording this on 10/10, okay, of 2019, and you have a couple of months now to catch up and really go within. And you got to go into your heart. You really have to find the center of your heart. If you do not, okay, if you're placing all your happiness still on things that are happening outside of you, if you are still placing your happiness based on how much you get, what you look like in this world, this is not going to be a good time for you. So let's start at what most humans might be witnessing. This is not meant to be predictive. This is an energy that I am reading, okay? So it could literally play out like the examples I'm about to give, or it could have a deeper, more internal kind of interpretation. Ready? First and foremost, density blast. Density blast is what happened back in 2012. Things that weren't working anymore started to fall apart. A lot of people on a personal level started realizing that they had to make a shift. I ended up quitting my job, shortly after, I think it was in 2013, I ended up quitting my job, moving on to something else. For 2020, it's sort of, for some of you, you might be experiencing major personal shifts, but this on a grand scale is going to be nothing seems to be working anymore. And we might see a lot of fighting, okay? Why would that be? Again, it's the density blast. People's egos are coming up on one another, yes? We also have people struggling in themselves to bring forward light, because the personal density blast is going to be the light trying to come up. And what's it going to do? It's going to illuminate. It's going to hit on all these things that have always bothered you. So if you hang on to your wounds, if you hang on to your victim mentality, if you think that whatever happened in the past still defines you and therefore informs every one of your choices, that's going to be very apparent to you. Yes? We might see an uprise in depression, anxiety, as people just aren't handling this very well and they're wanting to hang on to the old way. We talk about this all the time. This is not new, all right? So be aware of that. If you know you have unprocessed traumas, make sure you are getting help. Make sure you are, giving yourself some spiritual practice, having some awareness there. Do not put this on angels and other light beings to come and heal you. What now? What? We can't lean on our angels? Yes, you can, but it's not up to them to heal you. We once had this very sort of, I'm trying to be nice here. We had this perception of the angels at one time as, oh, my angels will save me. Oh, my angels will. Well, it's time to understand that the angels are not here to live for you. They are not here to tell you what to do. That's why they don't. That's why people get so shocked when they get an angelic reading and they're like, the angels aren't telling me what to do. What? They're here to help guide you so that you can make your own choices so that you can evolve. And we've been using that word for a while now, ascension, right? You can spiritually awaken and start to integrate more. There are people out there talking about this, and I think it's so beautiful. Integrate all of you into a fifth dimensional energy. It's not existing necessarily above you, and I've heard people out there say this as well, and I just love that they're putting it this way. It's so true. It's not above you. It's already within you. So this is, we want to think of ascension, but it's not really ascension. It's more activation, right? It's already there. It's just been sitting there waiting to be remembered, all right? And if you are treating this like a game, if you're treating this like a race, I'm going to give an example here. I went and I met somebody and I sat down with them, and this person immediately started to basically brag about how much she knew about spirituality. And I just sat and played witness, and everything that I tried to add to the conversation, she would diminish, right? And then she starts talking about how she uses her tarot cards to channel angels, and basically that she's just better at it than anybody else that's ever walked the face of the earth, right? So I was like, that's a great story. Brought a tear to my eye. I'm going to walk away from this. Nice knowing you. And I wasn't trying to judge, but I'm going to do some more information on this and videos and maybe even blogs, more writings about being an empath and us trusting our instincts more. So if you're treating it like that, like this awakening, this, activation, if we want to call it that, is some sort of competition, whoa, you better watch out. 2020 is going to be a wrecking ball for you. Everything you thought you knew, boom, done, okay? And it could come maybe in a grand sense, or it could just be, somebody put you in your place and somebody calls you out on your ego or something like that. So on a smaller scale, it feels like there's kind of like, because everybody's trying to face their traumas. They are trying to heal. I hate using that word in this context because people hang on to that. I'm just working on my healing journey. I'm just trying to, no, you're being human, okay? And we all are human, and everybody is constantly doing a cell turnover, if you want to think of it like that, okay? Everybody has had their traumas, especially if you are an empath. It's typical for an empath to have come into this world seeing a lot, experiencing a lot, right? Because how can you help others? How can you really develop that empathy if you don't really know what that pain is like, right? So people, for whatever reason, again, we could get into that in another video, in their soul's contract, choose to have those experiences. So we're going to have everybody in 2020 feeling aggravated, feeling agitated, feeling like the rebel. So part of that rebel, the rebellion, or someone feeling like they need to be a rebel, it would be people who are finally, how should I say this? They're finally setting boundaries when you should have been doing that all along, or could have been doing that all along. Maybe you just didn't realize it. And I know it's not really fair of me to say could, should. I'm still human. This is the language we have. Hopefully you can, still take it for what it's worth. So we have these people who now all of the stuff that they haven't been dealing with is right in their face. There's no more escaping it. It's here. So there might be a feeling of being raw, not being able to handle things, not wanting to be fair. And then we do still have people who have denied their souls, okay? They're denying their soul light. And so they claim to be on Team Darkness or whatever. And really, I've been around these people and I'm like, God, I wish you could see just how beautiful you are. I wish you could see how lovable you are, because that's why I'm here. If you were really dark, I wouldn't even have perceived you. We would have just crossed paths and kept on our way, all right? So I'm going to have a lot of those people coming up and trying to be very, very counterculture. But really, they're dealing with their own wounding, right? Because if you talk to a lot of these people, the reason why they're going counterculture is because they've been rejected by it. And now I'm talking about not everybody who's counterculture. Some people would say that they are, and it's because, they're like, oh, I don't like the establishment. I don't like how government is. I don't like how our banking system is. That I get. Okay, fine. But I'm talking about people who maybe feel like they're not lovable. And so there's a complete rejection of anything good or anything that would feel like light. So be ready for that. Be ready for people to throw their images in your face. Be ready for people to try to get under your skin. Okay. There's going to be an uprise in competition. Okay. There's going to be people, that's them trying to hang on to the old way because they feel themselves slipping. And really what it is I imagine this is almost like a baby coming out of the birth canal, right? Like you're all warm and cozy and what's happening? I'm getting sucked out somewhere. And like something's happening. And yes, we could see this as being born, or maybe what is fairer to say is you're being born into the next chapter. Yes? Will this happen boom, 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 right at 2020? No. Remember, time is not linear. This is just sort of a blanket statement here, right? It could be happening at different times for you. For you, maybe it doesn't happen until 2021. Maybe it doesn't happen until 2050. I don't know. But right now, certain people are going to be going through this, but definitely the earth is going to be doing this. It's happened since like 2017, I want to say. So there's been this sort of wave of action going on. So be ready for that. How do you get ready? Please listen to this. Please share this video with people, because people think that, they get scared, they hunker down, they're like, can't wait until it's over. Don't stop your life. Don't stop your life for a Mercury retrograde or a Saturn return, or what are you doing? No, you're here to live, and everything that happens is beautiful. And you might scoff at that. You might say, no, I've had horrible things happen to me. We all have. We all have. All right? We don't need to carry those things anymore. We don't need to live in those bad memories. The lessons came, we learned them. Let's move on to the next thing. So awareness is going to be how you can be prepared. Self-awareness, playing witness to the world without judgment. This is going to be hard for us because it's a protection mechanism, right? We see this a lot of times with people who, again, they feel like people are going to hurt them or something like that. So they're always judging others before they could be judged. Or they judge others so that the attention goes towards that person and it's off of them. All right. This is what we see in bullies. This is what those kind of people do. So we're going to need to have that self-awareness, again, playing witness to the world and just seeing how things are changing without the ego getting in there and flipping things around. Now, what does that mean? That means, aha, I knew it. I see right through you. That's the ego. All right. I wanted to be right, and look, I'm right, or whatever. Or people standing up and fighting because they're wrong and they knew they were wrong. It's not about that. It's not about looking at the world and trying to place more judgment on it. It's just watching how things are changing and shifting. This is where that competition comes back in, right? Where everyone's trying to compete with one another. If you have somebody who is laughing at your belief system, if there's somebody who doesn't want to take you seriously, if we see an uprise in personality disorders, again, I think that's more because of the awareness around it. So a lot of that's going to be coming out. This can feel very exhausting. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, oh, I cannot hear one more thing on the news, right? Or every time I think I've made it, or I am, healed or whatever, something else comes forward that I have to deal with. please take care of yourselves. This is really, really important, okay? So awareness is the number one thing that we can do to make sure that we are getting ready for this kind of energy. And a subset of that would be the non-judgment, right? So then we get into this idea of 2, get ready to be flexible. If you are very, very solid in your beliefs, it's like this and there's nothing else, how much are you missing in your life? How many beautiful moments, how many beautiful people, how many moments and opportunities of growth are you missing because you think you know it all? Because you think the way that you've set up your life is it, right? For those of you out there who are like, this is my career, this is my purpose, and that's all there is. Well, I got a reading back in 2008, and they said my purpose was X, Y, and Z, and now you find yourself doing something completely different. You're not going to, that's what was right for you and for who you were and the vibration you were in that time. That may not work now, okay? As a matter of fact, it won't work now. And so we're going to have to be flexible, evolve. Again, I can already feel the exhaustion coming out of people and the frustration of, it took me all this time to study this topic and now we're changing. Now it's this. I'm totally prepared for that. I'm in social media. It's changing constantly, right? So I'm ready to have to move and shake or move on to something else or whatever the case may be. I'm just staying very, very open, which is number 3. Remain open. Remain open to what you are seeing. Remain open to what you are hearing, and understand that you don't have to define yourselves under these limited terms, right? So there's going to be a blasting of that as well. I feel the example of sexuality coming out. There are so many labels that people could put on themselves. And if that makes you feel comfortable, by all means. Remain open in your heart to not feel like you have to put things in a box. Same thing with a career. I am a healer. I am a messenger. I am, a stockbroker. I am an accountant. Whatever you feel like you need to be boxed in by, you're going to probably, with that openness, start going, it doesn't really matter. The label does not matter. Yeah, I work at an accountancy. That's the job that I do. But does it have to be any more than that, right? So remain open to new ideas and new ways of seeing yourselves, and try not to get hung up on that ego consciousness need to label everything, all right? So number 4, the way that you can get ready, of course, is through self-care. Lots of self-care. Not in this whiny kind of way of like, oh, I'm so sensitive. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. I'm so sensitive to everything. I can't eat this or I can't eat that. If something doesn't work for you food-wise, okay. But whining about it is something else. That is an ego thing. That is your ego trying to get, it's almost like playing victim. And if you want to fight me on that, see you in 2020, honey. See you in 2020. No one's dealing with that anymore. No one is going to tiptoe around that anymore, okay? So when I talk about self-care, part of that self-care is not taking in people's opinions of you, not letting people define you. Because a lot of times people will do that just out of their own insecurities. Again, judge others before they can judge you. So it's not taking that in. It's not letting other people tell you how you should live. And you have a chance every single day to move your body, to feed your body in the way that's right for you, not what everybody tells you or what's trendy, and to meditate, okay? This is absolutely huge. We're not talking about meditation to draw somebody in or to, these things are not, wanting love is not bad. Wanting money is not bad. Wanting a nice house is not bad. However, when we're talking about meditation, this is a meditation that needs to get you connected from brain to heart, okay, getting those two brains online with one another and being in the heart space, and now viewing life from that lens. Now, Drunvalo Melchizedek, no, I'm not going to spell that. I can't, okay? If you just Google it, okay, Flower of Life, he brought all that forward, brought forward a lot of information about what they say, they call it the Merkaba. I always say Merkaba, but a lot of that information coming forward. So just go Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about. But he actually said in one of his courses, you can't be in the brain convincing yourself that you're in the heart, which is where a lot of people are, right? You actually have to come into the heart space. If you say, Michelle, I don't know how to do that, if you want me to put more work into courses and get those out there to help you prepare for that, let me know. You guys know I'm here to serve you in this way. I'm here to bring messages forward, to bring information forward as I learn it, as I understand it, right? And as I process it. So if that's something that you think is helpful, leave your comment down below. I'll put a course up, okay? But really, if you just want to try to do it on your own, it's meditating and getting into the heart space. You can work with Archangel Raphael. He can help you get there. Archangel Shamuel can help you get into the higher heart, right? Or what some people call the tiny space of the heart. I believe that is Drunvalo Melchizedek as well. So getting into that heart space. From here, what you are going to find in 2020, beginning in 2020, probably going far beyond that, is that all that stuff that you really thought was important, you don't care about anymore. That person you wanted back as a love partner, you forget about them. It's just now you're on a different, continuum. So it doesn't even matter anymore. The job that you thought really defined you, the thing that really maybe you thought made you stand out in this world, that gave you self-worth, you realize it doesn't have that kind of spiritual clout. It does not matter, right? And you start moving on to work that you can really connect to and that really serves the highest good of everyone involved. And that's what this higher consciousness work through meditation, moving your body in a beautifully energetic, freeing way, like through yoga, tai chi, whatever works for you, releasing all of that energy, it connects back into what we were saying before. That awareness starts coming out that I don't have to just work at half capacity from the intellect. Oh, there's this whole other part of me that's in my heart space. And now everything that you do, hopefully, if you allow it to be activated, again, you'll have your rebels who want to go to the dark side because they're terrified. That's the only reason why people would dare go to where light doesn't exist. It's out of fear, right? Perhaps a fear of being rejected, as we said before. But once you're in that space, you know that joy is the way. You know that the heart is the tunnel, if you want to see it that way, to your truest essence, to your soul. And now you might find that you're more interested in serving in a way that doesn't serve your ego, right? I'm the best angel card reader out there. I'm not. And even if I were, it doesn't matter. I mean, none of that matters. I am the most successful, blah, 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 in the spiritual community ever. Those people, we're not even going to see them anymore. I'm about to go to a convention this weekend, and it's always hit or miss when I walk in there. I wouldn't say it's high vibrational. It's not. It's a lot of people who are, on their ego pursuits. They, clicked into something that they think makes them mysterious and weird, right? And they're trying to turn a living out of it. So they show up at these places. Sometimes I walk in and I meet the one person that you can have a conversation with. But, it's that kind of stuff that's going to be going away. So if you are one of those people out there, you have completely manipulated this market. You treat it as a market. You have manipulated this industry. You're going to be found out and you're going to be done. Okay? And the people that are authentic, true, they want to serve. They want to help people because we know that that's what our purpose is. Well, we're not going to become Oprah. Okay? It doesn't matter. We got an Oprah. We don't need another one, right? But, we will find our way. And people are going to start gravitating to those who can actually help, okay? And this idea of, and I heard this a lot on some of my videos, I'm doing things for myself now, and I'm doing this and this and this. And that's wonderful because there was a time I said it myself as a messenger. I was like, don't lean on people so much. And so people sort of overcorrected as humans do. And they went off and now they're in another ego pursuit of, I don't need anybody. So hopefully in 2020, we're going to have a lot of upheaval. There's going to be a lot of things crumbling and people are trying to hang on and they're screaming and fighting. It might feel like we get a little more divided before we can come back together. But on the individual level, it's dropping that ego and admitting, hey, we're all in this together. And what your perspective is might help trigger an understanding in me. And maybe I can reciprocate in some way. All right. So we're going to start understanding that we need to work together a little bit more. So the next thing that you can do to be very prepared, right, is to always be coming from a space of love. Remember, we said getting into that heart space. That means it's kind of a culmination of everything that we just talked about. Loving yourself, but not in an ego way, in like a, I deserve love, I can be my own source of love kind of way, right? And, approaching others with a bit of love. One of the most challenging things that I came across, as I was saying earlier, I came across some people who chose darkness. They chose a lack of light because they're terrified and they just want to, hide in the closet a little bit, or in the corner if you want to see it like that. And they don't want anybody bothering them. They don't want anybody bringing some love to them. And as hurtful as that situation was, I saw it for what it was. I trusted my instincts. I broke ties. I set a boundary, and that didn't go well, because it doesn't go well with people like that. And I backed away, and I still had to approach that with love, right? So even though they're off doing their thing, they're making their choices, I'm in a loving space right here, right? So this means no self-hatred, no putting yourselves down. I was recording something one time, and I realized I'm always talking in the passive voice. I think it's this. I don't know, but I think it might be this. And I remember I stopped myself and I'm like, I do know what it is. I am well versed in this. I have studied, I've experienced, I know what I know. So why am I saying, I don't know, kind of, maybe, sort of, a little bit? I don't know. Do you agree with me? I don't know. And I stopped my recording and I did it again. And I said it in the way that I knew it to be true, right? So this is a big thing. That's that self-love. And if you catch yourselves apologizing a lot or saying, I don't know, is it maybe? And suddenly, people are going to jump on that, especially if they're operating from their pain body and they're sort of short-circuiting. They're going to jump on that and take advantage of it, right? And now they're taking advantage of your compassion. This is a common problem with empaths. So if you're coming from that space of love, that means doing things out of love. That means if you hate your job, if you can find something that you do there for the love of it, okay, get out of your egos. Get out of your egos, all right? If you can find a way to do stuff out of love, you will recommit to whatever it is that you've chosen, or you'll choose another path, okay? This is coming from a space of love with your love partners, with your kids, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your neighbors, with a stranger in the street. I'll give you another example. I just went to the zoo. We have a great zoo here. And for the very first time, when I went to go show my little card and my ID and everything, the person behind the window wasn't very nice and actually had a real attitude problem. And normally that would aggravate me. I would be like, why can't everyone just be nice? Can't we all just get along? Kind of thing. And the people in front of me actually got pretty aggravated by this person. But here's me. I was observing this for myself. Remember, this whole 2020 energy is going to be all about observing, how you react to things and checking yourself maybe, or going, oh, okay, cool. All right, well, look at that. I wasn't triggered by that, So I stood there and I just didn't take it in. I observed it, but I did not allow myself to get invested. And she continued on with her attitude, and she's like, just you today? Yep, just me. And then she had, you'll need this ticket, and blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, thank you so much. She's like, have a nice day. Like something broke in her. And it wasn't like I'm being codependent with this stranger and going in and trying to save her or trying to lift her up and make her feel good and just comfort her. I did nothing of the sort. I just stayed in my authentic, loving energy space, not invested, just doing my thing. And I gave her a smile and something cracked. Okay? That's what we're talking about. If you need me to go into that a little bit more in another video, again, leave all your comments down below about what you're going to need to get prepared for 2020. What else can we say? Let's talk about some of the changes we might be seeing in the world. Guys, nothing is going to be the same. Okay, everything is going to ask us to make adjustments. And that is something that you should definitely be, I would say, prepared for. It goes back to that flexibility thing. But don't sit there and get all scared, okay? Don't put that negative energy around it. It's okay. we've been waiting for this. This is what we've been wanting. We've been wanting things to be different, and now we're seeing that we can get there. Now we're seeing that when we're coming from what is good for a higher consciousness, what is coming from a state of love, what is happening, in our world politically or with religions or, anything of the sort, we're going to start seeing that that doesn't resonate because it separates us. I'll give some examples here in just a moment. But that separation, it's like wanting, you ever get to that space where you just, unfortunately this happens during tragedies, but when people are finally at their best, and they look at somebody that normally they would consider their enemy just for the thrill and energy of competition, right? And they suddenly want to reach out to that person. This, I think we have the potential here to do this over the next several years without having to be triggered by a tragedy. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about here. It's just not going to work anymore. And I'm picturing, people who like different sports teams, right? I have been unwillingly in sports bars because of some guy I'm dating, who makes me go to these stupid sports bars. And, they're guys that are dressed up in, rival teams or whatever. And they're going to fight one another. Like they're going to punch one another over a game. Better have a seat. This is ridiculous. And this is that kind of thing where someone might still be in that energy and be like, yo, man, that's my team. Don't you say that about my team or whatever. And somebody else is like, come on, man. We came here to have fun. That's what this was about. We've lost touch with that, right? The other thing, too, obviously, is politics. We're going to see that we can't even take people seriously when they are completely polarized. Those people won't even be heard. They'll just be screaming in an empty tunnel, right? And nobody's there to listen to them. No one is there to validate them. No one is there to quiver in their presence. We just are. And it's not done with our noses in the air or saying, I'm super ascended. You better stop. You better stop. The second you say that, you are not, all right? You are not in your wisdom. Anyway, I'll be good. So we're going to see a lot of people just not taking it anymore, but it doesn't, some people are going to get out there and try to create a war. They're going to, and I hope that we'll all be centered enough. And that's what it is. It's about being energetically centered and working on what is important, which is getting back into that higher consciousness, integrating the fifth dimensional energies into our bodies for the lower chakras, the higher chakras, our whole complete being. And, allowing that to light our way, working in a beautiful, friendly manner with one another, right? So the people that are still very divided, we're just not going to put up with it anymore. We're just not going to feed them anymore, right? And yeah, the ego in the spiritual community, I'm going to be very curious to see what happens. This isn't going to just be like, oh, now we wake up and it's light and airy, fairy, fluffy, and we're all good and whatever. It probably will come with a little bit of, as I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of this, hitting up on people's traumas and people thinking, well, this is treating spirituality. I've said this before, treating spirituality as if it's something to check off on your human resume. Covered it. Went and spent 3 years at an ashram. I'm spiritual now, really, because I'm sitting here with you right now and I'm having a hard time not getting pulled into your stuff. Like I feel like you're manipulating me right now. And if you were spiritual, you're in your higher consciousness, if you're coming from a place of love, if you're coming from the heart space, that wouldn't be happening right now, right? There's so much more that we could talk about here with this, but I will leave it there. Please leave your questions down below. I can make follow-up videos, whatever it is that you need. All right, guys, I'm sending you so much love and take care.